We are so used to getting ignored by developers. Activision doesn't listen, EA doesn't listen, but today the Splitgate devs did something that basically never happens in 2025. They actually listened to feedback. And they might have just saved Splitgate 2. When Splitgate originally released, it was a smash hit. It really filled the void that Halo left in the arena shooter genre. But due to some unfortunate controversies, it really seemed like Splitgate was dead. That is, until today with the release of Splitgate Arena Reloaded. This marks a hard pivot back to the series' roots after several failed attempts to chase industry trends. So let's go over the history of Splitgate and how the game might just be saved. So like I said, whenever Splitgate came out, it was a big deal. People really loved it, and it was a new take on the arena shooter genre. However, in September of 2022, 1047 Games, the developers behind Splitgate, announced that they were ending development on the original game to focus on a sequel built in Unreal Engine 5. Everybody was pretty frustrated by this because the game they loved was being abandoned, and it was being abandoned just as it had finally gained some mainstream momentum. Then on May 22nd of 2025, Splitgate 2 entered open beta. People who loved Splitgate 1 were immediately disappointed by this release. The arena DNA was replaced with factions, which were essentially classes, specialized abilities, and loadouts. And to top it off, the maps featured fewer areas where you could place portals, which is kind of the whole point of Splitgate. So it really felt like a hollow shell of its former self. Then to follow this up, on June 6th of 2025, there was the Make FPS Great Again incident. At Summer Games Fest, the CEO, Ian, appeared on stage wearing a Make FPS Great Again hat. He claimed this was a meme intended to criticize the stagnant state of FPS games, but this was widely criticized as tone deaf and needlessly divisive. It was basically just a PR stunt that really hit a lot of people the wrong way. Additionally, during Summer Games Fest in 2025, they had a huge announcement. Lots of people had theorized that it was going to be a campaign, but they told everyone it wasn't a campaign and they needed to think bigger. And by bigger, they meant a battle royale. And people are pretty sick of battle royales at this point. So obviously this did not land. And to make things even worse, the CEO had hyped this announcement up so hard that whenever it came out, it was just another battle royale. Everyone was incredibly disappointed. The battle royale also lacked some fundamental features. It was only squads. There was no way to play solo or duo or trios. In June of 2025, shortly after the launch, the studio faced a massive backlash for an $80 cosmetic bundle that was originally priced at $145. The CEO eventually blamed the head of monetization, noting that they came from Call of Duty and slashed prices by 50% across the store. However, not taking ownership over his own studio's monetization policies really hurt his credibility. He claimed he didn't know about it, but we really expect the CEO to know how his own game is being monetized. So, with all of this negative press surrounding the game, everyone abandoning it, it not even living up to the hype of a Splitgate 2, the game seemed pretty much dead. That's when, on July 23rd of 2025, the game was unlaunched. Just 7 weeks after its 1.0 release, the game was so poorly received and plagued by technical issues that the developer took it off shelves. They reverted the game to beta, laid off staff, and the founders stopped taking salaries to keep the studio afloat. During this relaunch announcement, they also shut down the servers for Splitgate 1 in hopes to maintain a budget for the team to fix Splitgate 2. Now, it's pretty unprecedented for a games company to take a game off the market, especially after facing backlash. Most studios just abandon their game and move on, take the loss, and hope they can do better next time. So I do think it's pretty impressive that they made the bold decision to basically own their mistake, take the game down, and try again. And that brings us to today. The game has rebranded as Splitgate Arena Reloaded. This relaunch is a direct admission of failure regarding the sequel's original direction. Arena Reloaded is essentially Halo with portals, what everyone wanted to begin with. They removed the classes/hero elements and added new weapons to the game to make it a simpler arena shooter similar to Halo. The team has vowed to take player feedback very seriously and make the best possible game they can and right their past wrongs. This move alone shows that they listen to feedback, which is such a rare thing in 2025. I think it's genuinely impressive and it gives me high hopes for Splitgate 2. I really love the Bazaar, and I think it's an instance of doing things the exact wrong way. When they got feedback about their game and monetization, instead of listening and changing things, they dug their heels in for way too long and basically killed their game. So, if Splitgate 2 is now Splitgate Arena, how are things different now? So the biggest things that are different now are that factions and abilities have been removed. The hero shooter elements have been completely scrapped in favor of even starts, meaning every player begins the match with the same tools, just like the original. There's a classic arena focus now. They've brought back roundless modes like Team Deathmatch and King of the Hill and re-engineered maps to prioritize the portal play that the game is famous for. In what is essentially a devlog that came out with this relaunch, the developers talk about how they stripped the game back, took all the elements, and really went back to focus on what matters most to this game. What are the fun elements that we had that we sort of lost in trying to add on top of it? So the game's code and UI have been rebuilt from the ground up based on community feedback, like removing heal grenades and things like that added visual clutter to the game, aiming for a more pure gunplay experience that the first game was known for. I really appreciate the honesty and grit narrative that they're pushing now, but the consensus remains on whether or not Splitgate 2, or rather Splitgate Arena Reloaded, is really a game worth playing. They're going to be fighting an uphill battle now to regain the trust of the community that felt burned by the horrible monetization, bad PR stunts, and overall generic quirky hero shooter that Splitgate became. Splitgate Arena Reloaded is live right now. You can go play it right this second. And if you were a fan of the first game, maybe give it another chance to see if it lives up to your expectations of what a Splitgate 2 was really supposed to be. I know I'm looking forward to trying it again.